you know that in total in Kosovo there are 19 registered physiotherapy centers, a large number of them being located in Prishtina? Are you aware of the fact that if only 11 physiotherapy centers are taken into account to calculate the total number of patients that require physiotherapy for their center, for their condition, the number of appointments will show up to be as 181,740. Did you know that out of this number, 23%, or exactly 40,802 patients in the last year had a condition that was treatable with aquatherapy? Today I, Berna Visoka, will explain the necessity and the cost-benefit analysis of establishing a Prishtina aquatic therapy center that will accommodate in the future this aforementioned number of patients. Throughout my research, I was many times asked why this topic. This made me realize that I need to share with you the reasoning towards my decision to research on this particular subject matter. As every other 14-year-old girl, I love to look myself in the mirror. One day, I did not realize that my mother was looking at me while I was, as usual, checking myself in the mirror. She said that my waist and shoulders don't seem to be looking normal. I went through many exams, including a plain X-ray of my spine. I was diagnosed with scoliosis of 18 degrees. Scoliosis is a disorder that causes abnormal curves of the spine. When you look from the side, the spine looks normal or straight, but it should also look normal when looking from the front. However, as you can see, mine didn't. People that are diagnosed with scoliosis develop additional curves to either side, left or right, and the bones twist in each other, forming an S or a C-shaped spine. From the day that I was diagnosed to this day, I continue to do exercises as I need to keep strengthening the muscles of my spine. Now, why aquatherapy? Aquatherapy refers to all the water-based treatments, including rehabilitation, relaxation, and fitness. My physiotherapist kept repeating that I need to go swimming because swimming is the best case scenario for not treating my condition, because it cannot be fully treated, but at least managing it. However, I never had the chance to go swimming because there were no swimming pools near my house, as well as the cost of the other swimming pools offered were not affordable, not only by my family, but for many other families in Prishtina. This is the main reason why I decided to research on this topic, because in fact I wanted to offer the citizens of Prishtina a chance to cure their or treat their conditions, because sure, I in the past couldn't. Scoliosis is only one in the puddle of 40 other conditions that can be treated with the proper aquatherapy, including spondylosis, musculoskeletal disorders, bone fractures, multiple sclerosis, and many more. Musculoskeletal disorders in the past were diagnosed to be surgically repaired, which took time as the patient had to wait to gain his or her full mobility. The main goals after people go under these kinds of surgeries is to gain their mobility, to reinstate their strength, and to reassure a minimum chance of re-injury. However, the maturation course, for example, for ligamentous injuries, is from several months up to a year, while for bone fractures is from 4 weeks up to 20 weeks. This means that patients have to wait to gain their mobility up to a year. However, the tissue works in a different way. The tissue only responds to the work that it should implement, meaning that if the patient lays down, the organs will cut their function, which will mean that the patient will not be able to do exercises, and in fact the muscles will decrease in mass and will form muscle atrophies. Also, the bones will lose their calcium. So by waiting or by not doing exercises, the patient is exactly the main reason why his or her bones have become so fragile. Marika Molnar, who is a physiotherapist in New York, suggested that bones, muscles, ligaments, and joints need tension but not stress. When a person, for example, stands on his feet after a surgery, what will happen is that he will or she will put stress in her or his weight-bearing joints, which will cause pain. There are many studies that show that aquatherapy is a better medium for exercising than land for some conditions. One of the reasons is that people are more likely to experiment when doing exercises in water, because most of their pain is eliminated by buoyancy. Buoyancy is the force that counteracts the force of gravity by lifting up the submerged objects. For example, if a person is 100 kilograms, he or she will need to upkeep only 10 kilograms with his or her muscular effort, while the other 90% or 90 kilograms will be supported by buoyancy. The temperature of the water is another physical property of the water which is quite important when doing exercises. If the temperature of the water is higher, that will mean that the spasms or the pain will be mostly eliminated, which suggests that the patient will continue to do exercises, and again suggesting that he or she will have a faster recovery. Our range of motion is in fact supported by buoyancy. For example, if I stand up and I stand on the land, what will happen is that gravity will push down the blood to my feet. However, the cardiovascular system will work in a counteracting the force of gravity by pushing or returning the blood to my heart. But if I'm in the same position, standing in the water, what will happen is that buoyancy, or the upthrust of buoyancy, will counteract the force of gravity by assisting with a venous return. This suggests that if a person is exercising in water, he or she will experience lower heart rates when opposed to doing the same exercises in land. There were many methods undertaken to collect a broad range of data for this project. One of the methods were surveys. There were two groups of surveys done. The first one was with the general public, or in fact with the citizens of Prishtina. 100 people were surveyed, 50 of them being females and 50 males. In total, 11 physiotherapy centers were also identified in the city of Prishtina, 10 of them being private and 1 being public. All these facilitated in designing the blueprints for the center, as you also have them in your hands. There are in total 3 blueprints, each one having the first and the second floor or story, and each one being different from the other. Another method that was acquired or that was undertaken were interviews. There was an interview conducted with 3 construction companies, with a representative of the municipality, and with a public, private, and a private institution. All these facilitated or helped in finding out the construction costs for the facility, where should that facility be constructed or built, and what is the best yet scenario of ownership. The results, or all these surveys did acquire some results. In fact, one of the results is when people, or the citizens of Prishtina, were asked the question, what would they like to have in this center? What was mostly answered was that they would like to have a half Olympic swimming pool, a leisure swimming pool, saunas, a squash room, and many more, as you can also see from the graph. What I was trying to find out was why people attend and do not attend different recreational activities or facilities offered in the city of Prishtina. The categories that were offered were affordability, meaning the price is too high; location, it is far away outside of Prishtina; transportation, they don't have the means for transportation; the proper infrastructure, which meant that they don't feel quite secure when being in that center; and proper hygiene, they value hygiene more than anything. So the ones that were mostly chosen from the citizens were proper infrastructure and proper hygiene, followed immediately by affordability. A question that was posed to physiotherapy centers was to find out if they are willing, in fact, to work with their patients in a different environment, in fact, this environment being water. All the physiotherapists suggested that they would be willing to work with their patients in the aquatherapy. The physiotherapists were also asked the question, do they in fact suggest to their patients or recommend swimming, and in what scale do they recommend it? I found out that for 5 physiotherapy centers, swimming is the first recommendation, while for 3 others as their second. Physiotherapy centers were also asked to show or to provide in a percentage form the number of patients that acquire aquatherapy as opposed to physiotherapy, based on their own experience or based on their own physiotherapy centers. The ones that were mostly chosen were 21 to 30% of their patients need aquatherapy, and 11 to 20. As mentioned, I also interviewed 3 construction companies. Each of them gave different costs for constructing the facility. As you also can see, the first construction company provided the highest cost. The reason is that the first construction company suggested that the roof or the ceiling to be opened during summer season. The material here that will be used is strong glass, and it is built upon a mechanism that the glasses, if you follow the arrows, go underneath one another as opposed to opening. The second construction company did not offer anything new, but the third one said that they can construct that one side of the building can be open. Again, if you follow the arrows, all the windows will go underneath one another when opened during summer season. If we look at the differences between the costs that each of these construction companies provided, we can see that the first and the second construction company, the difference is around 1.1 million euros, while for the second and the third, the difference is around 261.5 thousand euros. The aquatherapy center will also employ workers. In total, 30 employees will be in the beginning employed. For the first and the second proposal, if you look in your blueprints, you can see that the third proposal or blueprint does not include a fitness center, therefore does not need fitness instructors, and that's why it will only employ around 28 employees. The aquatherapy will need to work from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. in order to pay off faster the initial investment. And another reason is as to offer the citizens of Prishtina a chance to treat their conditions based on their working hours. So the center will not, will in fact adjust to their working hours. The positions that will be offered will start from the maintenance staff, the lifeguards, front desk, building attendants, physiotherapists, and so on. All these facilitated in finding out the operating costs or the salaries. In fact, exactly for the yearly salaries, including the payroll tax of 10%. The total operating costs include the utilities, meaning the water, heating, and electricity, and the other expenses as insurance and many more. The central locations that were suggested by the representative of the municipality that are preserved for public or public-private institutions are behind Prishtina Youth Center, in Ulpiana neighborhood near Hasan Prishtina Elementary School, and the last one is in Sunny Hill near student dormitories. The revenues were calculated based on each of the recreational activities offered and the capacity that each of them has. There are 4 scenarios of revenue, starting with full capacity, or 100%, 75 or 3/4, 50% or half, and 25% or quarter capacity. These facilitated in finding out the net profit, so after the expenses were subtracted from the revenues for each of the capacities, the operating profit was found, and after the corporate income tax was included of 10%, the net profit was found for each of the scenarios of capacity. The benefit-cost ratio was used to show if, in fact, this project is worth undertaking. If after using the formula, the number that you get is more than 1, it will mean that the project is worth undertaking. For example, for every €1 that is spent, for the full capacity, proposal 1, the center will be gaining 5.26 euros. As mentioned, there are many scenarios of ownership. If the center is to be privately owned, what will mean is that the capital investment will increase by 1.5 to 1.6 million euros, which will include also the land. According to this, also the payback period will increase, or in fact will be longer. However, if the center is to be public or public-private ownership or partnership, what will happen is that the capital investment will decrease by the aforementioned amount, and the payback period will change accordingly, so in fact this time it will be shorter. The different scenarios of ownership also have their consequences. For example, if the center is to be private, apart from the capital investment, which will increase, what else will happen is that the central locations that were all mentioned in the slides before will not be the case for usage if the center is private, because all these central locations are in fact reserved for public or public-private institutions. So this will mean that the location will need to be altered, which then will question if the center will be able to make that amount of profit that was again mentioned in the slides before. The public ownership was removed from the alternatives of ownership because of the lack of maintenance staff to maintain properly the facility or the center. This brings me to the main recommendation of this project, which is to have for the center to continue as a public-private partnership venture. Because the municipality, in fact, will grant the land, which will decrease the capital investment. Again, the payback period will be shorter, and what is the most important thing is that we will hear what the citizens of Prishtina want, so the facility will be hygienic as opposed to the private investors. Another recommendation is to have to offer, in fact, to include VAT to the revenues, because to the amount that people will need to pay. All the revenues that were mentioned did not include the value-added tax of 16%, because the center was mostly concentrated in finding the revenues of the center, meaning that if the center makes revenue of 12 euros per aquatherapy, a person or the patient will need to pay 14 euros, including VAT of 16%. Another recommendation is to offer, in fact, different packages for people. For example, to have leisure swimming pool plus half Olympic swimming pool plus fitness plus sauna for 45 euros and so on. There are also two recommendations for logos that can be used for the center, as the general logo, so as people enter the center, and also for the business cards, for notebooks, pencils, pens, and so on. And the two other recommendations are to have an agreement with the Autism Association. The reason is that the research indicated that aquatherapy is quite beneficial for people that are diagnosed with autism. So what the agreement may work in that way, so we will provide them a to pay a monthly basis of 70 euros as opposed to paying for every aquatherapy 14 euros. And there are people that would like, in fact, to learn to swim in the future, so why not offer them swimming lessons of 25 euros per month. In the end, let me restate that my analysis shows aquatic therapy centers can be built here in Prishtina. But let's not dwell on financial constraints. Think of it as a solution to help thousands of children, a solution that I and other people did not have in the years prior. There is nothing more satisfactory than seeing a child smile, knowing the rays of hope for curing or treating their condition have shone upon them. Thank you for your time and attention.
My one question really is sort of how do you estimate the level of demand? You think of a major investment. How many potential customers do you think are out there, and how many do you really need to acquire?
I mentioned at the beginning there will be around, in fact, 23% last year of the patients that were in physiotherapy centers acquire aquatherapy instead of physiotherapy. But since we don't have aquatherapy here, they go in physiotherapy. It's 40,802 patients.
40,000?
802.
For the whole country?
For 1 year, yes.
So would you expect people to come from different parts of Kosovo to Prishtina?
Yes, because when I talked to one public health institution, they said that, in fact, they come from other cities because they don't have the means. So, for example, in the public institution, there are 50 physiotherapists working. So, in total, they have one physiotherapist has 10 patients per day, which means that they have more than 500 patients per day, and according to that, it will be beneficial for patients.
You've done a lot of really nice work on all the benefit cost stuff. But have you, do you sense the municipality is interested in promoting this sort of public-private enterprise?
When I had an interview with the representative of the municipality, in fact, he said that the center will need to provide something, for example, for the unemployment rate, so the unemployment rate to to employ people that in fact don't have another job. And also, one other suggestion was for the roof, the first construction company that suggested to be opened, or in the summer season, so we will not use heating. That's two things that they said should have in order for them to grant the land.
Any final question, please? Well, thank you very much.